Well, welcome back. Welcome anew to the Further Faster podcast. I'm Joseph McClendon III, and I'll be your host, your guide, and maybe even your mentor for this next little while on this journey that we call helping you go further, faster, and becoming more wealthy. And of course, around here, wealthy means to be healthy, happy, and financially abundant. And before I tell you what today's topic is, I want to pre-frame it by saying that this is a family-friendly podcast. It's rated G. So when I tell you what the title of this podcast is, your mind might tend to go somewhere else, but arrest that for a moment. It is really just designed as a cliffhanger to bring you back. So make sure you pay attention. Today's subject is finding your G spot. And so grab a pad and paper if I have your curiosity. And by the way, this G spot that I'm talking about literally will change your life. So grab a pad and paper if you're so inclined to do so. And I will be right back with the Further Faster podcast. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. If you're back with me and you're listening again or you're watching me again right now, it means that I got your attention with today's topic, or the title of this topic, which is finding your G spot. And as I said before, what might tend to happen for a lot of people when I say that or use that title or talk about that is your mind tends to go somewhere else, but that's not what I'm talking about today. As a matter of fact, what I'm talking about today supersedes that and will definitely help you go further faster, as well as, yes, it's going to help you feel good and better as well. And I'm also going to pre-frame things by saying this. When I do tell you what it is, your mind also, when you become, let's just say, aware that it's not what I may be intimating, you also may go, oh, it's just that. And I caution you not to allow yourself to go there, because you may have preconceived notions about what this is really about. But what I'm, as usual, as normal, whatever I talk about, there's science behind this and provable process and technique to get the results of what I'm talking about. Said differently, I always say that, motivational speeches and quotes and great sayings and things like that, they always make you feel good. They always help you feel good. And you may even feel empowered, like you're going to do something in the moment. But on their own, they're really kind of like a warm bath. It's going to cool off and you got to get out and dry off. But the truth of the matter is, what makes a difference, what changes people's lives, what changes your life, what helps you go further, faster, what makes you become even more wealthy, healthy, happy, and financially abundant is when you do something. I call that process. And this process that I'm going to share with you today has been something that I've been practicing for years and years. And as you've also heard me say, I don't teach theory. It's not just that I've practiced it and gotten results for myself. I've taught it for many, many years to other people that have gotten results. And it's actually one of the first places that I go with regard to helping that person get stable datum with regard to their own mindset and their own psychology. And so I've kept you in suspense long enough. Today's topic, today's G spot, is the gratitude spot. Now, hold up, or as they say the kids say, hold up. Don't let your mind go to, okay, gratitude. I've heard all about that. This is so important that I literally wrote about it, an entire chapter about it in my book, Get Happy Now. There's science behind it. And it's not just for you to understand that the gratitude spot, and there is a spot within your body that I'm going to teach you how to get to hit so that you experience it more. But it is so important that you get it, that this literally has the ability to change the biochemical makeup of your body. What do I mean by that? I can make you laugh, I can make you cry, I can make you sad, happy, whatever. And so can you with the words that we say and the images that we make in our minds, all on our own. You can sit by yourself and be depressed, or you can sit by yourself and be happy and ecstatic. And when that happens, the blood that courses through your veins is different when you're happy and excited than when you are depressed and sad. You got cortisol, you got dopamine, you got all those different things. Which means that we, as human beings, the uniquely inherent talent, skill that we have above all other animals on the planet is the ability to change how we think, what we focus on. So we change how we feel, and therefore we change our biochemical makeup. Well, gratitude, and I'll tell you what that is here in a moment, the actual definition of it in my terms. Gratitude is that emotion that, as I said, supersedes everything else. It is the antidote to any fear, any negativity, any doubt, any uncertainty. When you go there, when you allow that to happen within inside your body and that chemical flood that goes through your system, what happens is you become what I call more optimistic. And optimistic means that you have more options. And more options you have in that moment, the more optimistic you are in that moment, you'll feel better. You have things to choose from versus just the fight or flight that we tend to go to when we're upset. And so I'm going to give you an example first. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you a story first. And this story will, let's just say, underline the fundamentals of gratitude, what it is, how it works, and then how to use it. Years ago, as a matter of fact, a little over 25 years ago, I was doing a talk. Now, the reason I know it was over 25 years ago, because there was barely any internet. There certainly wasn't any YouTube. There was no Zoom, none of that stuff. So I either did events that were live, or we did sometimes, wait for it, conference calls. Conference calls, there was, at the most, there'd be like 50 people on there. And so I was doing an event, and I did the event on a conference call. And in the event, I was talking about gratitude, and I was talking about gratefulness. So gratitude, gratefulness is, let's just say, is the verb for gratitude. And I was talking about gratefulness. And I was telling them about how important it is, and it's a state, and the state and all the things, like I said to you, that it produces endorphins and dopamines that make you feel better, makes your life run better, how it affects the world around you, so on and so forth. And I gave maybe an hour-long conversation about this, and we did some Q&A in the end. Well, that was over, that was done, and about 2 months later, it was Easter. And at Easter, a very good friend of mine invited me to go see her pastor at this particular church. And it was a non-denominational church. It was a great church. There were lots of different people there. And the pastor, this woman, got up and she started speaking, and she said, you know what? My topic today, and it is definitely going to be something that is in line with the day, which was Easter. She said, my topic today is gratefulness. And she said, and I have to be honest with you, I am going to borrow something that I heard somebody talk about 2 months ago. Now, the lights hadn't come on for me yet, but she said, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. And she said, let me tell you about this person first. And then she started to describe me. And I started to get it. Oh, she's talking about me. She doesn't know who I am, by the way, because this was a conference call, so she never saw my mug. And so she didn't know that I was in the audience or nothing like that. Not that I'm anything special. And she started to go on, and she was telling about me and about some of the things that she learned about. And she goes, and one of the things that this guy kept talking about is gratefulness. And she kept saying that, gratefulness. And all of a sudden, the lights came on to me that I had inadvertently taught her something that I didn't even realize I was teaching myself. And that is that like I said, this is the verb to gratitude. Gratefulness is being, and she described it, by the way, she said, is being full of great thoughts. And I thought to myself, this woman is brilliant. And because the way that she explained it, the way she said it was just that. She said, on this day, what are you grateful for? Be full of the thoughts, the things that you are grateful for. So be full of greatness, be full of great thoughts, be full of greatness inside of you. And that will make you feel that way. And lo and behold, from that point on, I had an entirely different perception, if you will, even though, as I tell you, the process still remains the same perception, if you will, or viewpoint of this whole concept of gratefulness. And so I'm going to start it off there by saying that the whole point of this is to have your mind full of great thoughts, not just what you're thankful for, That's a start. That's a place to start. That's a place to go. That when we have that, that is obviously when you're thinking about things that you're thankful for that are around you, that's going to put great thoughts inside of your head. But you can do it with all kinds of things. All kinds of things, great thoughts about where you've been, great things about thoughts about what you've done, said, all of those things in your life. And I promise you, you have infinitely more great thoughts than you have thoughts of negativity, uncertainty, and all of those things. In terms of the amount, frequency is a different story. Frequency is not, as I always say to people, when we think of the word frequency, we think of radio waves or cell phone waves or something like that, or sound waves and things like that. But when I use the word frequency, I mean how often, how frequent you do something. And so what happens in the general purpose, by the way, let me give you a definition of gratefulness or gratitude. Gratitude is the emotion that is produced when we put our attention and intention on the things that we are thankful for and that have produced outstanding or favorable results. What does that mean? Anytime that you're looking at something and you're thankful that something has happened or that you did something or something came about, you're thankful that you were a part of something, the emotion that is produced, and remember, it is a mixture of different hormones, endorphins, dopamines, and oxytocin and things like that in various amounts that give you that specific feeling that make you go, oh, I am so thankful for that has happened. Now, the reason, and by the way, that is the somewhat technical explanation of it. It is just an emotion. It is an emotion by the focus of, by the intention, or even unintentionally focusing on. And focus just means looking at with your eyes open or your eyes closed and saying to yourself the dialogue about that specific thing. For example, if you're thinking about your spouse or your a significant other, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, or anybody, any other person, and you think to yourself, I am so thankful that this person is in my life. I am so grateful. Well, it's two things. First off, you're focusing on that person, and you're focusing on the positive and the wonderful things that have come from that person being in your life. But here's the question that a lot of people don't think about. The question is, and this is what the question we're going to answer today, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to when you say that, when you're making those pictures? Are you talking to yourself or are you talking to somebody else? And when I say somebody else inside your head, you may be talking to your God. You may be talking to that person, whomever it is. That voice that is talking is intended for somebody. And all I want to do is I want you to purposely intend that voice to be talking to you. Now, that's a bit of a deep question to be asking, because it is going to involve you, which is going to be our assignment. It is going to involve you to do some introspective thought. Who am I talking to? As my friend Deepak Chopra talks about, it's the thinker behind the thoughts. Who is that person talking to? And more specifically, what's the tone of voice that you're saying to that person? And what is that person's response? Well, the last question I can answer for you. That person's response is however you feel in that moment. So said differently, if you're saying to yourself, I am so grateful that I am so thankful that I was able to attend this concert, or I was able to spend this time with this person. I'm so thankful. And you're saying that, some people might be saying, okay, well, I'm saying it and I'm directing that thought to that person, but I want you to direct it to you, because who made it happen? Who put yourself in there? Who allowed you to feel those feelings? It's you. And so when we say to ourselves, I'm thankful for this, I am thankful for that, I'm thankful for that, then your mind has great thoughts. It is full in the moment of great thoughts. Now, I'm going to get myself in a little bit of trouble here for a second, because I'm going to skirt that line between male and female brains for a second. But I assure you, I am not being chauvinistic, nor am I being anti-feminist when I say this. I'm just saying that the female brain is different than the male brain in these ways. Number one, it is different in that a woman's brain has at least 20% more connective tissue between the left and the right-hand side of the brain. than a man does in general. Women also generally have about 20% more peripheral vision than men. If you don't believe me, this is not just my words. My friend John Gray talks about it. There's another guy named Alan Pease who actually has done brain studies, and he's got graphs and things that you can look at and actual pictures that you can look at of scans of the brain that actually show this. Why do I say this? Because women in general, here's why I'm saving myself, I hope. In general, not all of them, because you have more connective tissue, you're able to multitask better than men in general, because you're able to think and feel much easier than a man does, because both sides of your brain are working in concert easier than a man. Why am I saying that? Because for women, to your benefit, to your asset, you're able to think about gratefulness, think about something and feel it while you're thinking about it. Men, in general, not so much. We got to think about it, and then we allow ourselves to feel it. The example I always use, and it's not my example, it's one that my friend or my colleague, if you will, talks about, and that is the woman goes, "I love you," to the husband or the man, and he goes in his brain, on one side of his brain, he's got logic, right? And he takes it in and he goes, okay, she said, I love you. Let me see how that feels. And then he has to go over to the feeling side of his brain and he thinks about it for a second. He goes, I love her too. And then he goes, you know what, honey, I love you as well. Now to her, because she can think and feel at the same time, here's what she says. She feels is, you got to think about this. Why would you have to think about it? Now I'm exaggerating and I'm being silly to a certain extent, but my whole point to this whole thing is for men, when I tell you to do what you do, it might take you a little bit longer. It might take you a little bit longer in general. For women, it might be a little bit quicker in general. I hope I'm clear on that. Because the whole point in this whole thing is for you to not just go through and catalog and remember the things that you are grateful for already and create new things that you're going to be grateful for, that you have gratitude about. It's also to allow yourself to feel it while you are exhibiting it, for lack of a better term, or while you're thinking it for X amount of time. Because when you do that, then you are in that mode. Now, let me back up for a second. And again, I dedicated an entire chapter to this, and the science behind that is this. People that live in that G spot, people that frequent that and have easier access to that and experience that more than others are healthier in general. And I'm not just talking about physical health, I'm talking about mental health as well. They have more energy. Obviously, as I said before, they're more optimistic. They're more creative. All of those things because the brain and the body is open up at that point. The antithesis of that is when we're afraid, when we're fearful, when we're doubtful, when we're going through all those things, when we're ungrateful for any of those things or anything going on in our mind, we shut down. We go into, again, you hear me talk about this all the time, and that is our sympathetic nervous system, which is just fight or flight, which means you get two options in general. Get the hell out of there or put up a fight. And a lot of people live in that more than other. That is stress. That is overwhelm. That is all of those things that are, let's just say, unresourceful states that we're in. So, having said that, all of the things that are available to us because we are human beings are available to us through choice, that we have the ability to choose them. They have the ability to say, this is what I'm going to think about today. This is what I'm going to think about in this given moment for this amount of time. And this is what I'm going to allow myself to focus on in that moment. Now, I always look at it like this. If you're looking at me, I'm putting my hand right down the center, and there's a demarcation line. To me, there is on one side of that line is negativity, on the other side of that line is positivity. Now, when you go way on the positive side, you go all the way to ecstatic, to so positive that everything is great, everything has a silver lining, ecstatic. But if you just step, just a little bit across that line and you're on the positive side, that's just, hey, feels good, everything's okay. So the spectrum between everything's okay to ecstatic, everything on that side is still positive. On the other side, if you go all the way to the extreme, it's depressed, suicidal, and all of those things. But if you come just a little bit on that side of the line, it is just, I don't feel so good today, or I'm a little bummed out, or whatever. Here's my point. There's one or the other. You either step on the negative side or the positive side. Either way, that's where you start. That's where you should aim to start, is on either side. And I'm going to, obviously, if you want to be depressed and upset and frustrated, then that's great. But that's where most of us tend to have our default in doubt and uncertainty and things like that when it comes to going further, faster, and doing the things that we need to do, whether it's, getting up and going out and exercising, or whether it is, making those phone calls to make your business go better, or whatever it is, or walking up to that person and saying hello, or doing whatever it is. Oftentimes we default to however far we are on that negative side, because we have not allowed ourselves, we have not trained ourselves to be grateful. And so, having said that, our outcome is to, wherever you are, to get you a step across the line, even if it's just in the shallowness of feeling great. So we start there and we move more. And because I said that, then we're going to take just a short break, and I'll be right back, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So I'll be right back with you on how to hit your G spot and where it is. Hey, what's good? It's me, Joseph McClendon III, and let me get real with you just for a second. Now, you've probably heard me talk about this before, something that I call the thieves of our dreams. Procrastination, hesitation, fear of failure, fear of success, self-doubt, self-loathing, imposter syndrome, and fear of rejection. Well, let me ask you a question. What if you could not only retrain your brain and your nervous system to automatically default to your absolute best thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, but you could also do the same for others that are going through difficult times and challenges in their own lives, and things that are stopping them from creating the life of their desires? Well, this is what I call neuroencoding. And at the risk of sounding arrogant, these are the same tools, methods, and strategies in neuroscience that I've used to operate in the upper 5% of all of my own businesses, especially as a coach, a speaker, and a presenter for the last 30 plus years. The Neuroencoding Institute provides you with the knowledge, the tools, and unmatched support to become a certified neuroencoding specialist and guide you to the life of wealthiness. And remember, wealthy means to be healthy, happy, and financially abundant. Go to neuroencoding.com to speak to an enrollment specialist today, and I look forward to serving you at the highest level.
You're enjoying this episode on Angel Phoenix Productions Podcast Network. To explore a complete lineup of quality programs and media production services, head on over to angelphoenix.com or like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Angel Phoenix Productions.
Well, welcome back. And as I left you before, I told you that we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about how to find your G-spot. But first, let's talk about where your G-spot is. Your G-spot obviously is in your brain. It's inside your head. That's where it starts. And it cascades into your heart, meaning your emotion, and then through the whole rest of your body. Now, just so you know, as I said before, this is the place that I often will go to. It's one of my go-to places to help people go further, faster, if you will. And when I was in college years ago, I did a bit of an intern in actually a couple of hospitals. And we would go there and do this experiment, if you will, that's now your assignment with people. And we'd go to the psych wards and go to people who were even medicated. Now, I'm going to pre-frame this by saying I am not telling you to stop taking whatever medication you are. If you're having mental health issues, obviously seek a physician. And this is not a prescription or anything. This is just, let's just say, a process that you can use to help you go from wherever you are to where you want to be. And so, as I said before we started this, wherever you are, on which side of the line where you are, I want you to step on the positive side. And the way you step on the positive side is very, very simple. It's going to sound ridiculously simple. It's just that. If you're watching me, I'm going to demonstrate it. I'll do it. And those of you that aren't, I'll explain it to you once I do it. If you're watching me, watch this. That's it. If you're listening to me, all I'm doing is putting a smile on my face, allowing my eyebrows to come up. That's it. Remember what I said, this is science, this is physics. You've heard me say this before if you listen to this podcast at all. That is that the brain, the body and the brain are linked inextricably. They're linked together. They cannot be separated. And what happens is when we smile, all I did was smile, and our eyebrows go up, it literally physically makes your body release dopamine. In other words, you cannot be depressed with a smile on your face. Think about it. Think about a depressed person. Think about what the expression is on their face. Eyebrows are down, corners of their mouth are turned down, even their whole body is slumped over. But if you and I do this, I do this all the time in seminars. I have people stand up, put a smile on your face, and try and get depressed. You can't do it. Literally, when we would go to these psych wards, oftentimes one of the things we would do is just have people just sit there and smile. Just smile. Look in the mirror and just smile and laugh and do those things. We've heard this saying before that laughter is the best medicine. You know why? Because a couple things happen. When you smile, when you laugh, your brain, remember, you got 80 muscles, 80 plus muscles on your face. It is the largest concentration of muscles on your entire body. I think it's second to your hand. But each one of those muscles carries with it a hormonal release, if you will. It makes your body feel a certain way. And so does standing up, so does breathing deeply, and all of those things. So when you change your body, you change your mind, and vice versa. And so to step across that line, to do this assignment, it starts with a smile from wherever you are. And don't worry, I'm going to lay it all out for you so you have this specific thing that you can do, because that's how we roll up here. It's not about just what we say. It's about what you do that's going to get the result and the frequency of which you do it. And so you start off by putting a smile on your face. And then I am a big stickler for writing things down. As a matter of fact, my saying is, what you write is what you invite. What you don't is what you won't. What you're going to do is you're going to get a journal. If you don't have one already, if you've been listening to me, I've been suggesting it to you for a long time, but I suggest that you start. Now, a lot of people, they think, well, journaling, that kind of thing is supposed to be right about now. No, a journal is just any book that you have with empty pages in it that you can write down your thoughts, period. They can be specific about what happened yesterday or whatever. But in this case, I'm going to give you something to write down, and even lists. So you don't have to be poetic about it. You don't have to write paragraphs. All I want you to do is for 5 minutes straight. All I want you to do is write down things that you are thankful for. Any and everything. Now watch this. I do this regularly in my seminars. I just did it a few days ago. Couple thousand people in the audience, and I chose people. I said, who can tell me 10 things that you've accomplished? 10 things. And a lady raised her hand and she goes, I graduated from college. I was the #1 realtor in this town. I got married. I had 2 kids. And by the time she got to about 5, she ran out of stuff. And that is synonymous with most people around the world. And I said to her, I don't even know you, and I can tell you 10 things right off the bat that you've accomplished. She goes, like what? And I go, you got up this morning, you got dressed, you tied your shoes, you drove here, you brushed your teeth, you did this. And people started to laugh all around. And I said, I did not ask you to tell me all the amazing things that you've done. I just said, tell me things that you've accomplished. And I hope the lights are coming on for you, because you have millions and millions. Remember earlier I said you have infinitely more positive and things to be thankful for than things that you're sad about, or things that you are depressed about, or any of those things. Infinitely more, because all you have to do is look at all the things that I just said there. I'm thankful that I woke up on this side of the dirt this morning. I'm thankful that I was able to, drive to the store and get this. I'm thankful for the country that I live in. I'm thankful for this. Now, what happens is this: when you're searching for this, the searching process is the rewiring process, the remembering part of your brain. Meaning that as you're looking for stuff, as you seek, so shall ye find, but it will find you as well. And what I mean by that is this, is as you're looking for something, it's in your memory somewhere. You make a new neural association. You connect your conscious mind to your unconscious mind physically. It's not just electrical impulses that go back and forth. You physically connect your brain together. And your brain goes, if you're looking at me, your brain goes, aha, oh yeah, aha. And every time that happens, there's dopamine release. And your brain automatically goes, what just happened? Let's do it again. Because it wants to feel good. Now, so if you take 5 minutes, just 5 minutes for the first just few days, and your pen cannot stop or your pencil cannot stop, and I want you to write it. I don't want you to type it on your iPad. I want you to physically write it down. There's a whole reason for that. I'm not going to go into that now, just in the essence of time. But as you start to write it down, here's what happens. You start to feel it. And what you start to feel is, oh my goodness, I have so many things to be thankful for. I have so many things. But here's the great part about it. Remember in the beginning, I said that the woman talked about gratefulness. Have your brain full of great thoughts. Your brain does not stop searching just because you stop consciously searching. When you write down for 5 minutes, by the way, your pen cannot stop. And at the end, and you cannot repeat. And at the end of that 5 minutes, all I want you to do is put a smile on your face, pat yourself on the back, and praise yourself. Dopamine release, the brain goes, oh, that feels good, let's do it again. And it'll keep on searching. So the next day when you go to do it again, guess what? You're not only going to have more things to write about, but you've been thinking about them more often. And your brain has been thinking about it on an unconscious level, which means that your brain that's your G spot. Your brain is grateful more frequently. The frequency of great thoughts abounds in you, and that's who you become. Now, don't even get me started on what happens around you, because the energetic impulse that you give off because you're a more thankful and grateful person, that affects things, but that's a whole nother thing, which, by the way, I didn't say this. I know on our last podcast, I talked about the 21 immutable laws of magnetism, and I'm going to continue that. But I wanted to put this one in here today because this is, and actually it's one of the laws in a different way, but this is so important, especially in these days. And the reason I say that, the reason I chose to talk to you about this today is right now, you don't have to be living under a rock to recognize that there's a lot of, let's just say, negativity going on in the world around us. That's what's being put in front of us. Remember earlier that I said that oftentimes when we think about our future, we think about things like that, we tend to default to the negative side. Well, that's not your fault. It's not your fault. You're not designed to be that way. Cavemen were not designed to be that way. Cavemen, cavewomen were always optimistic about, here's what's going to happen. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to find enough food. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Did they go? That's where they were most of the time. They were optimistic most of the time. But then again, they didn't have cell phones and media and television and social media and all that stuff to remind you of everything negative that could possibly be and keep you pessimistic and keep you in drama. So instead, your outcome with this whole thing here is to start to, remember what I said, put your focus, your intention, and your attention on what you're thankful for. The small things and the big things. Your brain will find more, even while you're not looking for it. I want you to do this 5 minutes a day. Your pen and your pencil cannot stop. You cannot repeat. At the end of it, pat yourself on the back, and then you judge by results. I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert. Let's just say, wonderfulness alert. And that is that you're going to start to notice how much better you're going to feel as you do this. So remember this, life is always exactly what you dare to make it, and fortune favors the bold. For the next 10 days, all I want you to do is to boldly step up and dare to be grateful. I'm Joseph McClendon III, and this has been the Further Faster Podcast, and I'll see you at the top.
This podcast was a production of Angel Phoenix Productions. Explore more episodes of this show or other great shows on the Angel Phoenix Podcast Network by visiting angelphoenix.com. The views expressed in this show do not necessarily represent those of Angel Phoenix Productions or its advertisers, and may contain language that's unsuitable for younger listeners.